4 o'clock, we'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We have one item on the agenda. We'll let Samantha tell us about it.
We typically amend the budget about halfway through the year, and that's really where this started at. We also have received some grants since we adopted our budget back in May and June. So the biggest part of the general fund being amended is a combination of those two things. But while we were looking at that, we've had some major personnel changes in the general fund throughout the first 6 months of the year. We've had a few retirees and some restructuring between some departments at the general fund. So Public Works, Police Department, and Community Development. As someone has retired or left, they've taken a really hard look at those job duties, responsibilities. Can we divide that up in a more efficient way? And I'm proud to say that we have come up with almost $130,000 worth of savings there on the general fund. It wasn't necessarily an easy thing to do, but it's something we're really proud of, that that's a savings that is not only for this fiscal year, but for future fiscal years. It's going to slow that growth on that personnel side of the operating budget. So we'll start at the general fund, and overall we have a decrease to revenues because of some grants at the Park Theater. So the mural grant and the RAFF, Rural Arts Facilities Fund, we decreased the revenue, but we also decreased that expenditure, so that's kind of a wash. The mural grant, we decreased that revenue down to $6,000, but we still think it's going to cost about $10,000 to do that work. So that was actually a $4,000 increase to that fund balance there. But we also have on page 2 of your packet an $8,500 increase for the surplus vehicle sale in the police department. We're on track to be about $5,000 ahead of budget on the Civic Center pass revenue this year, which is a really positive thing I'd like to highlight. And then the biggest chunk of that revenue change positively is that East Tennessee Safe Neighborhoods grant, but there is an offsetting expenditure. So roll all that in, and our revenue on the budget will decrease by $47,000. However, on the very next page, you'll see that we have a decrease to general fund expenditures by $176,000. So our total net change is $129,000 worth of savings to the fund balance. Namely, that is personnel. You'll see those highlighted throughout there. It was about $57,000 in Public Works. It is about Police Department, $63,000. And then Community Development, almost $46,000 there. So those were the biggest 3 chunks of that savings. We've also had some capital items that have already been purchased and received that didn't cost as much as we had originally budgeted for. So the urban forestry truck has about $10,000, almost $11,000 under budget. The dump truck, about $20,000 under. The PCI study, all the way through. Trying to think of, the fire engine was a little bit cheaper, and then the heaters at the fire department were about $12,000 cheaper than originally budgeted. There are some other smaller things on there as well. The salt spreader wasn't as expensive, but the used hot box for the Public Works Department has been removed because we think we have a better, more sustainable solution coming in the next budget year for that. So it didn't make a lot of sense to spend that money. We might as well go ahead and free that up to use elsewhere in the general fund. If there's any specific questions about the items, I'm happy to do my best to go through them with you, or some of the department heads are here to help us go through that as well. But all in all, I'm really proud to say that we found almost $180,000 worth of savings on the expenditure side. So what the front page is if we just turn that money back to the unassigned fund balance, we would increase the fund balance to end on June 30 of 2026 at $5,361,000 versus the $5,121,000 we had originally budgeted and planned for. So a positive change. And then our surplus, or our deficit, I'm sorry, goes from 2.2 million down to 2.1 million. Again, that's if we turn all of that $130,000 back into the unassigned fund balance. We have some options there if we wanted to maybe turn some of it back in and use some of it elsewhere on some items that weren't funded in the original budget that got cut to try to get that pared down. That is really up to you three, and I'd really like to get kind of a consensus moving to the full board so we can have that in the budget ordinance for the first reading on December the 9th. I think I've talked with each of you about the options. We're still waiting on the PCI study, is that right?
Okay.
The PCI study results
Yeah, we'll know the results, or at least the raw data next Tuesday.
next Tuesday. So that might be a little bit pushing it if we wanted to look at paving and how much it would cost. But we were looking at about, I would say, a third of a mile yesterday. I'll put back my text messages.
A third of a mile, about $87,000. That's just for the overlay. If you want to mill it, that's going to be even more, which I would suggest milling absolutely on all our streets.
So paving will get us a little bit, but it depends on how we want to, divvy that $130,000 up. And I've talked with you each about some different software options. We've looked at ClearGov software, which would be budgeting based. It would significantly reduce our preparation time for the personnel and the operating budget. A huge increase to the transparency aspect of our budgeting and our meetings. It's itemized, it projects out, it does a whole lot of fancy things that we don't do right now, and it decreases the staff's time on working that up for you all and kind of constantly changing and coming back to you with different scenarios. It does it in real time. I'd be up here clicking away and you would see those changing, Right now, we're presenting a 1% COLA, but you want to see what a 2% COLA looks like. We can change one number, all of those automatically update versus having to go back and work it all up and then calculate the taxes on those things. My favorite feature would be itemization, and I think just intrinsically that will have some savings just by really thinking through what gets budgeted where, and that is only going to cost us $5,000 this year, but maybe the other department is planning to spend 10, and we can negotiate and say, okay, well, why don't you get it from where we're getting it because we're getting it cheaper. That just really helps everyone have a better, more transparent picture of what is in that budget and what is getting voted on. For you all, for us, for citizens, all across the board. The next piece of software is the open meeting software, and I'll let Nolan speak to that one a little bit.
So that's just the name of one of the softwares that's available. It's kind of an add-on to what we're currently doing. So we currently have Ben Lohman streaming our videos. This would be an add-on. It would manage the whole meeting process from agenda creation to in-meeting management during the meeting. The whole experience for both the board as well as people watching online would be more transparent. Much higher level. Manchester has implemented a version of this and they love it. It looks pretty nice. Post-meeting, you can also search the automatically generated meeting minutes and video and get right to the information that you need. So it's, again, going towards the increased transparency that we're hoping for with these things that we're doing. So I think it would be a huge step up for our whole meeting. Again, from agenda creation to meeting minute creation afterwards, the whole gamut. And that's about $20,000, somewhere around there. But
Annual?
I think it might be less than that each year. I think the 20,000 might be just the first year. But do you?
I don't remember the total. I know the first year with startup was $17,000, so I think it was closer to the $10,000 to $12,000 range annually.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the ClearGov, the budgeting software, year one prorated would be $14,000. If we weren't happy with it on June 30th, we could just choose to not go with them. We go back to Excel, We're not in a year-over-year contract. We're not locked into anything. But the annual on that would be about $20,000 after it was all rolled in. But year one, so between now and June the 30th, we'd be writing a check for about $14,000. Then July 1, we would owe $20,000 for that full year. And we would pay that in July of every year if we chose to continue with them. And we've both demoed a whole lot of software, and that's where we've landed with the ones that we're most comfortable with being able to implement efficiently, quickly, and get it ready to roll. They all have their pros and cons, but that one seemed to have a more favored user experience, especially from mid to smaller size cities that doesn't have dedicated budgeting people.
Yeah, and I invited Ryle to experience the open meeting platform with me, and he really liked it, so. And to answer your question, it's, the number that they have is $10,000 for the annual cost after the first year.
After, speaking with everyone, paving is a big one, something we can always use more of in every single budget. It seems like there's always something that could be paved. Sidewalks is a big one. Sidewalks is something we do in-house, and we need to take into consideration manpower if we're doing those things in-house. Paving, we get to bid that out and they come in and do it, so that doesn't put a strain on our current level of service in the Public Works Department. The other thing we had on the list was the City Hall repairs on the front of the building. We're experiencing some water issues and things like that, so the caulking around the windows and between the slats at the front of the building at some point is going to need to be repaired. So those are the items that, as we were looking through what didn't get approved last year, what could we do this year to make things more efficient? Those are just what Nolan and I came up with, but I'm absolutely open to whatever you all would like to see or not like to see before we generate that ordinance for next Tuesday.
I definitely would like to see the repairs before those get
Yeah.
worse and cost more, while we have this opportunity to do that, the unexpected. And also, I think the software sounds, after the growing pains, it might, the transition might be a little, everybody having to learn new things or whatever, but I think in the end, it would be, forward thinking, helping us now and then into the future as we grow.
When you first told me what we were doing and the amount of money it was, my first inclination was just to put it all back because we have a $2 million deficit from last year to this year. Then we started talking about the software, and both of those ideas really intrigued me from a just a practical and a just a streamlined process to make things easier, make things more efficient is what I was trying to say. And that's what we're looking for, and I applaud Libby and y'all for making these changes within, our workforce to be able to eliminate some, because not only are these savings, if I'm thinking about it right, for this time it's going to continue, on down the road. So to me, that's one thing that we have to take a hard look at and in order to save some money in the future. I don't know, my idea coming in was I think both those programs we can do for less than $30,000, and then that would leave us $100 to put back into the general fund. But you bring up repairs, and I didn't notice the amounts on those. What do you,
So, I think the number that I got a year ago was $35,000 and just a little backstory. So, how when you come in the front doors, right above the doors, there's the water that comes in when it rains a certain way. Well, that water comes in all the windows on the south side when it rains that way, because Well, we had the roof fixed, both on the little awning outside on the sidewalk, and then the roof up above, and none of that was helping. So we had someone come in and do an infiltration testing where they spray the facade and see if they can find the points where the water's coming in. And they said basically all the caulk between the panels and the windows is needing to be pulled out and replaced. So that would help with both heating and cooling as well as the water coming in. It pours in. We currently have, what do you call those things? The tubes that we have in the windowsills for flooding.
Yeah.
We have those set in there so they don't cause too much damage. Sometimes we have to move stuff from our desks away from the windows so that stuff doesn't get ruined. Anyways, I think it needs to be done.
Well, I think we have to do it, yeah.
And again, I think it'll help with heating and cooling as well as obviously keeping the water out. So like $35,000, I think, would get it done.
Is that anything you consider doing in-house, or do you think it needs to be?
I would have it done by a contractor, simply because I think Public Works is at their limit.
Yeah.
They're about to start the Cardinal Drive sidewalk project, and they've got the grades to do downtown. They've got stuff kind of backing up, and I would kind of hate to add that to them. I don't even know if they have a bucket that would go high enough. So my first choice would be to sub it out.
Okay. Well, an option would be to look at both the software packages and the repairs on the windows to prevent that leaking from continuing, and then take the rest and put it back,
I agree.
which would be, we're looking at $70,000 roughly-ish,
Roughly.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's a good compromise, I think.
It is a good compliment.
Yes, I think so.
And I really want to highlight the fact that we are saving the taxpayer dollars and returning that to that deficit. I want to make sure that that is.
We think some of these softwares, to your point, Steve, will generate ongoing savings or
Yeah.
more efficiencies within our processes, so hopefully saving more money or being more effective with the money we have.
Yeah.
And worst case, we get to June and absolutely hate them, and we're not under any contract or obligation to stay year over year with them, and that was something I was adamant about when speaking with those. Okay. The next one, sanitation. There are a few requests, I will say that. There's some surplus revenue potential earnings if we have the ability to purchase the trucks for the replacement. So if we replace the truck, we can surplus the old truck and have a revenue on that flip side. The trucks are roughly $425,000.
Yes.
We need a front loader, we need a side loader, and then a $200,000 expense for a knuckle boom truck. Each of those have about a $20,000 offsetting surplus if we're able to replace that truck. The first one we're looking to replace is a 2014 side loader.
That's, the front loader is priority 1, side loader priority 2,
Okay.
knuckle boom priority 3.
So front loader, 2009 front loader.
Yes.
Okay, so 14-year-old truck running 6 days a week, sometimes 7, I would imagine. Just 6 days a week. We're starting to experience an incredible amount of repairs on these vehicles, and when one goes down and then we're driving the backup is not long to go down there after that. So then we're talking overtime hours, man hours, garbage not getting picked up timely, and citizens aren't excited when that happens. They're typically very understanding, but sometimes we can't avoid that. The 2014 side loader is priority number 2. That's roughly $425,000 expenditure. And then the new knuckle boom truck would be around $200,000.
Didn't we just buy a knuckle boom?
We did buy one, let's see here. We bought a knuckle boom back in 2023, yes. We bought one for brush back in 2023.
But this is not to replace it, this is another one.
This, I'll come talk. I'll come. So, this one is to replace our jump truck, which is starting to have problems, and it needs to be sent to be the reserve, and our reserve truck is not sufficient to handle. If the junk truck went down, then we wouldn't be able to pick up junk, pretty much. It has no power, hard to get up and down the streets, is the reserve. Same thing with the side loader and the front loader. If our primary goes down, then the secondary can't keep up with the demand that we have either. And when we looked at these and asked you guys, I know it's a lot of money, it's what we're asking for, and it's 3 vehicles. We didn't just come up with it, we dove into it. The repairs that are going to be needed, for instance, the front loader and the side loader both are going to need new transmissions. That's $20,000. The vehicle itself's value may be max $50K. So you're talking at 40% of that. It just, from my standpoint, it doesn't seem fiscally responsible to spend $20,000 on a vehicle valued at $50K. We need to just we gotta get rid of it, get a new one in here.
Well, how much will it bring needing a new transmission?
What do you mean? 20K for the transmission?
No, if you sell it, I mean, if we replace it, so it's worth 50,000 with a good transmission in it.
Probably.
So, but if we buy a new one and then you sell it on gov deals, it's not gonna bring 50 with a bad transmission.
20, 30,000, probably with a bad transmission.
So then, I'm just trying to do the numbers and see, I mean, it seems like we're not, I don't know. If it brings, it's 20, put a new one in it, and it brings 50 with it in it, but it only brings 20 without the new transmission, then aren't we better off at least fixing it or not? I mean, maybe my math's not right.
I mean, you can fix it if you want to, and you may get a couple more good years out of it, but that front loader has made its life cycle. 10 years, 10, 11 years on a sanitation vehicle is about all you're gonna get, and then you start getting into maintenance costs, just keep rising and rising and rising and rising on it, and it's time for that front loader. If our front loader goes down, that one will not be able to keep up.
Right.
And if that one goes down, then we're down with the one front loader running 8 hours and then another 8 hours right after that with somebody else in it. It's not, the front loader, the demand that we need it's up there. Same thing with the side loader. It's down right now. This one is, that we're trying to replace. It's currently down, doesn't function. We lose our other side, our other side loader needs repairs right now. And we can't send it in for repairs because the other one's down.
The front loader's a 2014?
2009,
2009. The side loader's
2014.
14.
Yep. So that's kind of where we at. I would say if there is hesitation, then we can go a couple more years without the knuckle boom, probably.
What kind of time frame are you looking at if you were able to get these replaced?
What do you mean? Like, when can we get them? Well, talking with some of the salesmen and everything, we can get them pretty fast
Okay.
through some companies. They have them on the lot right now. I'm talking like a month, something like that.
Not 3 years,
Not
like
3
a fire
years,
truck.
yeah.
No.
That's what was in my mind.
So the concern is we're trying to plan. You know, I would hate to be reactive for it to break down and then we're coming to you asking for emergency purchase because we don't have a reserve or our primary went down or something like that. It's a matter of time in the short term. It's going to go down. It's going to happen, and we're just trying to plan ahead, get ahead of the game.
And sanitation, as a reminder, has nothing to do with taxpayer dollars. That is all funded by the revenue we collect from the garbage collection fees that are billed with the utility bills. So in theory, although there are only a few items in the sanitation department, unfortunately, they're pretty expensive ones.
Yes.
With that ask, if that surplus comes back in, that revenue comes back in, the minimum is 15%. This brings us to 16.9%. So legally, and in terms of speaking about the comptroller and what the requirements are, this budget amendment still meets all of those minimum requirements. The flip side of that is you're not getting any large vehicles over the next few years until that fund balance gets built back up. That is the great thing about the sanitation department.
And judging from our replacement schedule and what we're looking at asset management wise, we're not going to need to replace another vehicle for another 4, 5 years or so down the road. We need to be coming back to you guys asking for, I think it'll be another front-end loader.
What's the annual revenue?
I believe it's a little over 200,000.
So $200,000 each year.
Mhm.
So, okay. After 1 or 2 years, you'd have enough to buy another large piece of equipment if you really needed it.
If we were in bad shape, we could, yes. But judging from our asset schedule that we've looked at and created, another 4 or 5 years will be the next time we'll have to purchase something, barring some catastrophic event with one of our vehicles. Yep.
So our total revenue is a lot higher than 200,000. Our net change to the fund balance is around $250,000 a year. Our revenue is about 2 million. Our expenditures
Yeah.
are about 1.9 was what it was budgeted at last year. So you're gaining at least $200,000 each year. We've been keeping a close eye on that too with the increased expenditure for disposing of the solid waste at the CWS,
Yep.
and making sure that we aren't getting that, we're paying more than what we're making. We've got a good handle on making sure that those fees are staying in line with what it is costing the city to dispose of that garbage.
Yes.
I feel confident in the $200,000 net gain each year is where I'm headed. The other piece of sanitation is routeware software. That is something, Lyndon, John,
Yes.
there's some savings there as well.
Absolutely. So the routeware, similar, but not to the scale of Samantha and her budgeting and using Excel. We have to use Excel for all of our reporting and monitoring of how much waste we get rid of. The state requires us to have reports and to send it in quarterly, and we use Excel spreadsheet to do such. Routeware, that's one thing Routeware helps us do, is help us out with our reporting to the state, helps us keep track of it, and we also help report to Warren County. They have a certain percentage that they want to recycle, and our brush and waste helps with that as well. So we can help them by reporting accurate figures to them. Also helps us keep up with our routes. So our garbage truck drivers will run a route, it'll track them and save it. So for training purposes, or someone else that may get into the vehicle that may not run that route, it'll have it saved on their screen, and they know how to run the route going forward, and they can train off of that. Also, it helps with the people downstairs that receive our phone calls. It will show them where the guys are at, where they've been, things like that. They also record, they couldn't get to this can or this dumpster, there's a car in the way, some kind of obstruction, they couldn't get it, then they can report that either directly to the people downstairs, or if we have the customer's phone number, it can send a picture to them saying, hey, we couldn't get your trash, there was a car in the way, if you get it moved before this time, call us and we'll come full swing back and get it. Stuff like that. It helps us keep track of, everything that's going on sanitation-wise, really, in our department as well.
And that's around 24,000 a year, a little bit shy of 24,000.
Yeah, it $24,000 a year, $2,000 a month, but they'll bill us yearly for $24,000.
I think there's also some increased efficiencies with
Yeah.
not having to come back to the shop to learn that, oh, well, you missed something, now you need to drive the truck all the way back to the other side of town.
And it'll help us with our routes, efficiencies with our routes. If the AI or the program sees that, hey, this driver actually should probably not hit this driver should be getting this, increase efficiencies and get the routes done faster, use less gas, things like that. We could see savings, long-term from implementing this software.
Is your a yearly fee after that? on that?
It, from what I can tell, it's pretty fixed. $2,000 a month, and then it just, every year,
So that's every year, okay.
every year, yes, sir. More questions? It's a lot of money. I'm here for any questions you may have.
It's a lot of money.
It is, yeah,
It's a
it
lot of
is.
money. Just a few items, but they're large items. But, again, I'll underscore that it meets the minimum requirements of the fund balance as a percentage of total appropriations at 16.9%. It takes it very low, but it does meet those, at that full ask. Assuming we were able to increase revenue by that 50,000 by selling the surplus vehicles in the same year. So if we remove one of the expenditures, we would need to remove the coinciding revenue until that gets budgeted in the same year.
And it was the knuckle boom you said might make it a little bit longer?
Yes, if there was one thing that had to be nixed, it could be that.
You said the 2009 was priority, the 2014 was
Yes,
second.
Priority one is the front loader.
Okay.
2009 front loader, absolutely, 100%.
And you think the ones we've got in the condition they are would bring $50,000 or not?
Total or
Each one?
individually?
Individually.
Maybe with the side loader. You might get lucky and get 50K from the side loader. That front loader, it's 16 years old. It's in bad, it's rough. It's bad. You don't want to operate that at all. But the side loader, I think you could potentially get more out of it. Absolutely.
It looks like we're planning for a $20,000 revenue from the 2009 and a 20 from the 2014, which
That-
could be a little higher.
And you never know when you put it on Gov Deals where you're gonna get, it may go really high, it may go really low, so I think that is a good middle of the road for each of those. And of course, anything above that would be to the benefit of the fund. Anything below that, hopefully would be washed out if the side loader goes down more than 20,000 and the front loader is less, it would average back out. There's no way to know other than comparing what's already on there, and it's hard to compare vehicles at that age. There's not a lot out there for that.
So do we need to make a recommendation on this as well?
I would like to have one for the draft for the first reading if possible. We're gonna have our second and final reading of the public hearing at the first meeting of January, so we will still make ample time if there are changes from reading one to the second reading. We'll have that public hearing on January the 13th. So we can absolutely make changes next Tuesday, but I would like to have an idea going into that meeting what that ordinance looks like.
Well, it sounds like we're in a position where this is gonna have to be done. If we could possibly get a few more years, we could knock that, take the knuckle boom off. Would help the numbers a little bit. And then that would look like, if I understand correctly, it would just add 200,000 per year. 4 years of, get those paid off. A little over 4.
To build that fund balance back up to
Right.
where it is right now.
Right.
It'd be 2, 4, it'd be about 6 or 8 years to get back up there. It's $200,000 a year positive. A little less than 2 years per vehicle.
We currently have the cash to pay for all three of those
Yes.
things.
Okay.
We can put a pin in it and circle back if we need to. The next one is very easy, tourism fund. It's a net in and a net out. So Jordan's done a really great job at securing some grants. So the tourism fund is a net zero change, an increase in revenue and an increase in expenditure at the same exact dollar amount. So she's killing it over there.
Good job, Jordan.
Hopefully it pans out the way I have it planned.
It will. So what do you think here? The sanitation fund?
So walk through the numbers again on the, because this is its own account, and it's in an enterprise fund. So we gotta make the numbers work, right? And go through that again, just the highlight of where we start, what we spend, where we finish.
Sure. So, original in the budget, we had estimated $2 million in revenue with 1.9 million in expenditures for the fiscal year we're currently in. So that was a net positive change to the fund balance of $224,000. We've been, historically, this fund, we build, spend it down, build, spend it down. With the amendment as proposed, with all 3 new trucks and the software, we're asking for an additional $1,074,000 in expenditures, offset by a revenue of $50,000. So really, we're asking for a net increase of $1,024,000. In terms of fund balance as a percentage of appropriations, the minimum requirement is 15% by the comptroller's office. This amendment meets that minimum requirement. So the revenue would go up about exactly $50,000 budgeted. We would hope for more than that, but it would go up $50,000 on the budget. Your expenditures are gonna go up to $1,074,000. So your ending cash proposed was $1,501,000. You're dropping that down $1 million, and you're gonna have $506,000 on June the 30th of 2026 versus the $1,005,000. If we're netting about $200,000 a year in that fund, and I think we can absolutely sustain that, one of those vehicles is gonna take us about 2 years to build that fund balance back. So you're looking at 8 years for each of those 2 garbage trucks, and then an additional year for the knuckle boom to pay that, kind of pay ourselves back from paying cash on the front end of that.
Would it be 4 years?
We're gonna be 5 years instead of 8.
For the 2 trucks, 4 years?
Well, they're $400,000 apiece, so that's 2 years per truck.
Yeah. So 2,
2,
4,
4.
and then 2.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm really getting I'm doubling it.
Just being safe, I know.
Yeah, being very conservative here. 2, 4, 5, yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not 6. We did increase garbage fees last fiscal year. I'm not too far off on that. And those have brought that margin of expense versus revenue closer back together, because we were paying exponentially more to dispose of the solid waste. Personnel expenses go up every single year. Purchasing the new front loaders go up every single year. So I think we have to continue to maintain an eye on that ratio between the expenditures and the revenue. But I think $200,000 is a pretty conservative net increase year over year.
And we had a rate increase, what, 2 years ago?
I think it was last fiscal year,
It's 2024.
2024. Yep,
What'd you say?
2024.
24.
that's right, Linda was, yeah, I'm sorry, time's going by quickly. And prior to that, it had been quite some time.
Yes, it has.
I haven't had any pushback on that. We are also managing within QuickBooks the temporary dumpster and extra cart billings right now, making sure we're keeping a more accurate and up-to-date cycle on billing for those temporary dumpsters as they're being set, dumped, rented each month, things like that. So those guys are really identifying some efficiencies already just with the current processes and increasing that revenue.
So we can buy a front loader, we can buy a front loader and a side loader, we can buy all three. Basically our options. You talked about doing 2 of the 3.
If that's the best way to do it, if the way it's laid out here in front of us works for us, knowing that we inevitably have to have it and don't know what its life cycle actually is, if it's gonna need repair in order to make it a couple more years. After Samantha explained it one more time, I'm leaning on the side of how it's laid out here, including the route wear.
All in.
I agree.
And that still leaves us with $500,000. How long has it been since that fund's been down to that?
I'd have to look back.
And yeah, I mean, has it happened, it's been a while, hasn't it?
We made 2 garbage truck purchases since I've been here. One was an emergency and one was budgeted. So that's been at least within the past 7 years. We've done
Yeah.
we haven't bought a new truck, I guess, since that knuckle boom in 2023. So that fund balance has been
We bought
building.
a side loader in 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right, the battle truck.
Yep.
Yes, okay. I can look back and get you the last time that fund balance was that low. That's no problem.
But you're running 2 of those, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, it's not just, this is not an extra, this is 2 trucks running wide open every day, all day long.
Every day, all day,
Right.
2 wide open, absolutely.
6 days a week, you said.
I think we do have some do we have any 7-day a week
No,
pickups? We
no,
don't do any
anything
7.
up on Sunday.
Okay.
No.
And the knuckle booms for junk.
Yeah, it will replace the junk one, the junk truck, yep.
I'm happy to write that ordinance up that way and then have further discussion next Tuesday if that's what you all would like to see.
That sounds good to me. Put it all in there and then we'll see what everybody else thinks.
Happy to do that. And then to confirm on the general fund, facade repairs and the 2 softwares for the rest of this fiscal year.
That would be my preference.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
If y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to.
Thank you for putting all this together.
You're welcome.
Anything else come before the finance committee? Do we need to make a motion for everything we just talked about? Or,
I guess it wouldn't hurt.
okay, so we need a motion to present those ordinances to the full board with
Contingencies.
as presented?
With the 2 computer software programs and the facade repairs. And then in the Public Works Fund, the 3 new trucks and a software program for them.
I make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, thank you.
That includes the tourism fund, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's a net zero,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
formality wise.
I guess-
Formality wise, yeah.
Well, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Don't
you,
forget the
Samantha.
Christmas party tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
12:30.
Wear your shirt.
And wear your shirt, please.
My only point about those trucks and what they're worth and doing repairs on them is even if we were gonna sell them, the reason I was asking, I know these are really, really rough numbers. If you have a truck that, say the transmission's out, and it would bring $50,000 with a transmission, you only bring 20 without a transmission. If you spend 20 on it, get 50, you're good. You're
We're gaining-
10,000 to the good.
Yeah.
But now, that may be
That's a
pie in the
savings
sky, you know, but
Yeah,
if there's somewhere to do some repairs, and even on something you're gonna sell, possibly might bring more, I don't know, something to think about.
I think if we did that, the side loader, we repaired that, I
Yeah,
think we could get more, but that front loader
yeah,
is rough.
it's done, huh?
Yeah. I'll put you this way, it doesn't get out of 3rd gear.
What?
Doesn't come out of 3rd gear.
Doesn't go down to third gear.
And the side
Something I'd
loader
drive.
only comes out side loader won't come out of 1st gear. So he'll do about 5 cans, have to turn it off, turn it back on, and see if it'll come out of 1st gear, turn it off, turn it back on. Yeah,
I think it's time.
it's time.
Probably past time.
But sometimes, if he lets it run for an hour and a half or so before he starts his route, it'll be good for a little bit. But until he does that, it might not be so.
Is it depending on the temperature?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
It's kind of stuff we all deal with in the real world, not on our own.
We did talk about used and things like that, but it's such a hard sell on those garbage trucks, the wear and tear on those.
Right.
You may be getting someone else's limit.
Like our
Actually very corrosive too on trash trucks.
used equipment, yes. Used
Some sit
vehicles,
everywhere.
and like garbage trucks,